The trade war between the U.S. and Canada has exploded into a political firestorm, exposing the hypocrisy, incompetence, and raw greed of leaders on both sides. Donald Trump, the self-proclaimed champion of American workers, has once again lashed out with a knee-jerk tariff policy that reeks of economic blackmail, while Canadian officials, led by Doug Ford and Mark Carney, have responded with their own sanctimonious outrage, conveniently ignoring the fact that they were the ones who threw the first punch, with an electricity surcharge targeting American states. It's a spectacle of political theater at its worst, a chess game where millions of jobs and livelihoods are being sacrificed to the egos of men who will never feel the consequences of their own reckless decision. Trump, never one to back down from a fight, has wildly escalated the conflict, branding Canada as a trade cheat, a parasite sucking the wealth out of America. His fantasy of annexing Canada, making it the 51st state, is not just historically ignorant, but deliberately provocative, a dog whistle to his most radical base, who see economic disputes as an excuse for imperialistic expansion. And yet, the Canadian response has been just as self-righteous and absurd, with Carney and Ford suddenly portraying themselves as heroes of sovereignty, despite decades of selling out their own industries to foreign corporate interests. Their faux nationalism rings hollow when their policies have repeatedly prioritized globalist deals over domestic stability. The markets are in chaos, businesses are bracing for impact, and the people, the workers, the small business owners, the consumers are left screaming into the void, watching their leaders play economic Russian roulette with their futures. Steel prices are soaring, automaker stocks are plunging, and inflation is getting another boost, yet the ones at the top will never feel the pain. The media, too, is complicit, choosing to focus on Trump's rhetoric rather than the decades of systemic failures in both countries that have led to this moment. It's a toxic mix of arrogance, short-sighted policy, and outright deception, and the world is being forced to watch as the two closest allies in the Western Hemisphere tear each other apart for nothing more than political points and personal power. What happens next could reshape North America's economic future, or throw it into an irreversible downward spiral. Will Canada cave to Trump's bullying tactics? Will Trump push too far and force Canada to retaliate in ways that go beyond just trade? And most importantly, how much longer will ordinary people stand by and allow their so-called leaders to destroy their livelihoods for the sake of political posturing? Stay with us till the end, because this is far from over. Hello and welcome back to Innovative Check YouTube channel, where we delve into the innovative and transformative projects changing our world. If you're new to the channel and enjoy learning about innovation stories around the world, you've come to the right place. Please subscribe, like, and comment to help boost our videos on YouTube. The tensions between the U.S. and Canada erupted into an all-out trade war on Tuesday as Donald Trump, in a move that sent shockwaves through global markets, announced a sudden tariff hike on Canadian steel and aluminum, raising it to 50%. The announcement, which came in the wake of Ontario's retaliatory decision to impose a 25% electricity surcharge on U.S. states, has ignited fresh concerns about the future of trade relations between the two neighbors. The economic and political stakes could not be higher. As the news broke, Wall Street reacted immediately. Stocks plummeted, with investors bracing for a prolonged economic confrontation that could destabilize supply chains and ripple across industries. Trump, doubling down on his combative rhetoric, falsely claimed that Canada had been taking advantage of the U.S. economy for decades, portraying the tariff escalation as a necessary step to level the playing field. His words carried a distinct undertone of veiled threat that extended beyond tariffs, hinting at a more radical move: the annexation of Canada itself. The situation escalated further when Ontario's Premier, Doug Ford, backed down within hours of Trump's announcement. After a closed-door conversation with U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, Ford agreed to suspend the electricity surcharge imposed on Michigan, New York, and Minnesota. In return, Lutnick promised to revisit existing trade agreements, a vague and non-committal gesture that many analysts dismissed as political maneuvering. Trump's justification for the steep new tariffs rested on a familiar argument, one he had wielded during his first term in office. Canada is one of the highest tariffing nations anywhere in the world, he declared, ignoring the fact that the U.S. historically imposed far more trade restrictions than its northern neighbor. His next threat, however, was far more drastic. Trump warned that if Canada did not capitulate, he would impose even harsher tariffs on the automotive sector by April 2, a move that would cripple Canadian car manufacturing and plunge thousands of workers into unemployment. The economic implications of the escalating conflict were immediate and severe. Within hours of the announcement, automaker stocks tanked. Ford Motor dropped nearly 4%, General Motors slipped 1.3%, and Stellantis, which has several manufacturing plants in Canada, saw a staggering 5% drop. Meanwhile, aluminum prices in the U.S. soared past $990 per metric ton, a record high that would undoubtedly translate into increased consumer costs. Trump, in characteristic fashion, ramped up his rhetoric by questioning why the U.S. should rely on foreign electricity in the first place. Why? Is the United States buying energy from another country? We don't need them. This is about the American people, the people who have been taken advantage of for far too long, he said during a press conference. He then accused Canada of using its energy exports as a geopolitical weapon, calling it a bargaining chip that was holding innocent people hostage. In a theatrical moment, Trump declared that Canada would pay a financial price so big that it will be read about in history books for many years to come. Just a quick reminder to hit the like button below. YouTube has been restricting my videos a lot recently because of bots, so your like does help out this video massively in terms of the algorithm in YouTube. The political backlash in Canada was swift and unrelenting. Mark Carney, Canada's incoming Prime Minister, condemned Trump's move as an attack on Canadian workers, families, and businesses, and vowed that Canada would maintain its own tariffs on U.S. goods until Washington showed respect. Carney, a former Bank of England governor, has positioned himself as a bulwark against Trump's aggression, drawing strong support from his base for his unapologetic defense of Canadian sovereignty. But the tensions extended beyond trade disputes. Reports surfaced that the Trump administration was preparing new travel restrictions on Canadians, requiring those staying in the U.S. for more than 30 days to undergo fingerprinting and registration. The measure, which would fundamentally alter decades of frictionless travel between the two countries, was met with outrage from Canadian officials. The timing of the proposal, mere hours after Trump's tariff announcement, suggested a deliberate escalation designed to pressure Canada into submission. The conflict has taken on a more ominous undertone as Trump has increasingly framed the dispute as not just an economic battle, but a question of national destiny. In a chilling development, he repeatedly suggested that Canada should become the 51st state of the United States, dismissing the border as an artificial line drawn many years ago. In a speech that sent shockwaves through Ottawa, Trump mockingly proposed that Canada ditch its national anthem, O Canada, in favor of an American state song. His annexation rhetoric, once dismissed as a bizarre quirk of his campaign rallies, has now morphed into official White House messaging. And for the first time, Canadian politicians across party lines have united against Trump, with Carney loudly declaring that Canada never, ever will be part of America. If you are enjoying this video so far, please don't forget to subscribe, share the video, and comment. While markets tumbled, the White House struggled to contain the fallout. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, in an attempt to downplay the escalation, insisted that the tariff hike was merely a response to Canada's electricity policy, framing it as a retaliatory statement rather than an act of aggression. But her words did little to reassure investors. Meanwhile, Ontario's Doug Ford, a longtime admirer of Trump, found himself cornered. For years, Ford has echoed Trump's economic policies, aligning himself with the former president's America First ideology. But as Ontario's steel industry reeled from the new tariffs, Ford faced mounting pressure from his own base. In a desperate attempt to balance diplomacy and defiance, Ford stated that he was willing to cut off energy supplies to the U.S. if the tariffs were not lifted. That's the last thing I want to do, Ford admitted. I want to send more electricity down to the U.S., to our closest allies, our best neighbors in the world. I want to send more electricity. But is it a tool in our toolkit? 100%. And as Trump continues to hurt Canadian families, Ontario families, I won't hesitate to use it. Ford's ultimatum marked a stark departure from his usual pro-business stance. His comments sent a clear warning to Washington. Canada was prepared to weaponize its energy exports if Trump refused to back down. The uncertainty surrounding the trade war has also placed American CEOs in a difficult position. The Business Roundtable, a powerful lobbying group representing some of the biggest corporations in the U.S., has remained largely silent, fearful of drawing Trump's ire. But privately, executives have expressed deep concern about the potential economic fallout. On Tuesday, Trump was set to meet with top business leaders, including the CEOs of Google, Amazon, and J.P. Ford. In a fiery address, urged them to take a stand, calling out corporate America for its inaction. We need these CEOs to grow a backbone, to stand up to Trump and tell him this is going to be a disaster. It's mass chaos right now. For now, the White House remains defiant. Trump has refused to rule out additional tariffs and has doubled down on his rhetoric about Canada's economic dependence on the U.S. As he prepares for another rally, where he will likely continue his annexation narrative, the world watches uneasily. Thank you for your attention, and I welcome your thoughts and questions on this complex and vital subject. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to get exclusive videos about how phenomenally China is developing and growing its influence. Your subscriptions and likes motivate us to generate more content, so please keep supporting us. Check out this video showing on your screen right now, and I will see you on the other side.